Okay.
Okay, it's recording now.
Okay. Krishna praises Karma Yoga. Neha vikramana sosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Iha, in this, abhikrama nashaha, waste of effort, na asti, is not, pratyavayaha, production of na vidyate is not, asya dharmasya, of this dharma, karma yoga, swalpamapi, even very little, mahata bayat, from great fear, trayate, protects. In this, there is no waste of effort, nor are the opposite results produced. Even very little of this karma yoga protects one from great fear. Karma yoga, not karma itself, is involved in the pursuit of moksha. A person does karma yoga not for karma phala but for moksha. Here, abhikrama indicates the beginning of an and nasha means destruction. You can always begin cultivation, but you may not be able to reap the harvest. Water may not be available, there may be no rain, or the pests may come in large numbers. Anything can happen between these two events. There may even have been floods or too much rain at the wrong time. All of these can destroy whatever cultivation that has been undertaken. But in this verse, Krishna says that there is no destruction for this undertaking. Abhikrama nashaha na asti. Any karma that you undertake has numerous obstacles, but karma yoga has none. It is purely prayer. All the karmas that you do form a prayer, as it were. Prayer itself is the result because, to the extent that you're able to pray, your antakarana is taken care of. You are praying for the sake of purifying your mind, antakarana shuddhi, and the prayer itself produces the result. The result is not later. That for praying is itself the result of prayer. Karma yoga is an attitude. Karma yoga is an attitude, it is not just an action. If it were an undertaking, it would be a problem because it might not end properly. There could be obstructions in between, or something could happen to prevent you from achieving the desired end. For example, if you perform a Vaidika karma, scripturally enjoined karma, the undertaking can be destroyed altogether by not doing the ritual properly. That is, there will be abhikrama nasha. Certain omissions and commissions may be there. If something was done incorrectly, or if you did not distribute the proper gifts, dakshina, that was required, there would be no result at all. Therefore, in karma, there can be nasha, destruction, meaning that the desired end cannot be fulfilled at all. This is not the case for karma yoga because you are not interested in the result, the karma phala. You are interested only in the antakarana shuddhi so that you can gain moksha. The word pratyavaya used here has two meanings. Any undertaking that you have not completed due to your own emission has a pratyavaya dosha, a defect. The desired result is not achieved because the action, a prescribed treatment, for example, is incomplete, inadequate. Suppose you start a treatment, do it for 1 or 2 days, and then discontinue. It creates problems because the treatment must be applied for a prescribed period of time for it to work. Only after a certain point should it be discontinued. To do otherwise will cause pratyavaya because you will not get the desired result. Not carrying out the prescribed treatment is a pratyavaya, a defect, and not doing it at the right time is also a defect, the second meaning for pratyavaya. If treatment is not taken at the right time, your condition may become complicated, yielding results that you did not expect at all and that may be most undesirable. Similarly, when an important karma ritual is performed, there are a number of satellite rituals to be followed. If these are not followed, there is either no result or a wrong result. In karma yoga, however, such problems do not exist because we're not talking about karma. Karma yoga is an attitude, and being an attitude, if it is with you, it is with you. To the extent that you have it, you have it. And with this attitude, you continue to do karma. Previously, you did karma, and now also you do karma. It is a change in attitude that brings about the results and makes it yoga. The discipline called karma yoga, this attitude, even in the smallest degree, swalpamapi, protects you from great fear, the great fear of samsara, trayate mahata bayat. Once you have started living a life of karma yoga, you have started a different journey. Till then, you were going in one direction as the water flows, so to speak. Now it is as though the water has reversed its flow and flowed towards the mountain top instead of away from it. Through karma yoga, you have reversed the process. Once you have started the reverse process, there is nothing to stop you, no matter how many obstacles remain. If you do not complete the journey in this lifetime, then you simply continue it in the next. The Gita assures you. You might ask how having karma yoga in the smallest degree can help remove the samsara bhaya. It is because that small measure, that shift in attitude, has already initiated the reverse process of the journey. Even if the person dies while pursuing moksha marga, according to Krishna, it does not take much time at all to complete it, as we will see in detail in the 6th chapter. The very fact that you reverse the process shows that you are well on your way, that the journey is all but over. By assuring us that the reversal itself is a great blessing, the Gita praises Karma Yoga. In the next verse, Krishna talks about one's understanding with reference to the clarity of the end in view. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anuji. Wanted to read a short paragraph from Swami Paramarthanandaji's transcript. So here, Krishna is glorifying Karma Yoga. So Swamiji says, Karma Yoga is that way of life in which we grow internally more and we give importance to inner growth more than external accomplishment. Because the basic philosophy of Gita is this: the peace of mind does not depend upon what you have. On the other hand, peace of mind depends upon what you are. Our general misconception is that our happiness, our security, etc., depend upon what we have, and we think that the more we have, the more secure we are. But Bhagavad Gita says it is the biggest misconception. In fact, those people who have more, they alone require maximum security. Greater the person, the more number of black cats. So the he's talking about the black cat commandos in India. So the president, he has got a lot of money, position, possession, everything is there. Therefore, we think that peace and security is directly proportional to what we have. Krishna says that is the biggest myth. Peace and security depend upon what type of personality you enjoy, what type of inner growth you enjoy. And in our culture, you find that some of the greatest people enjoyed greatest happiness. And they say, like, when we talk about happiness, I think there was somebody who was trying to explain, like in Kolkata, we have, like, smaller space and, like, people, like, most of the Indian cities. And this person was very specifically talking about Kolkata in one of his examples because he's from there. And people are not, or at least in my childhood, that wasn't the case, that people were very happy with what they have. And there are so many different scenarios. And I think I would have mentioned this once, like, I was flying over Yemen and Sudan and that kind of place. And I was just, looking out the window. And the whole landscape was absolutely complete rock. You did not see a single tree or any greenery. There's no water visible anywhere nearby. And I could see, like, small little, like, home, like little houses built in there. So I was thinking, like, the different kinds of landscape. It was just a revealing moment for me on thinking about even places like these. There are weddings happening, there are people really happy, there are people who are passing away, and there is sadness, and all of this exists, and it is no different than the happiness that somebody would be feeling in probably, like, the most luxurious buildings ever. So what essentially that happiness is dependent upon who we are and not what we have. I think that's the whole point of karma yoga. So I wanted to share that before we move to the next shloka. Any thoughts before we move to 41?
Question. I was coming across something where it was Mimamsa, the Nyaya and the Mimamsa.
Yeah,
where if they do the yajna, and there is a certain manner that you have to follow, and if you have to repeat it twice, you have to repeat both of them at the same time before you go to the second part of the yajna, and so on. Something that swasthana vriddhi versus kalita vatavritti or something.
I
So
see.
that would be more like karma, but not karma yoga.
Correct.
Okay.
Very much. The biggest difference, uh, I think in the age when Krishna was teaching Gita, or when our acharyas were writing the commentaries, karma very specifically enjoined mostly Vaidika karma. And now we have to interpret that into our day to day, like, our grihastha role has completely changed, right? Like we don't do so much of yajnas and yagas and all of that, but we actually have to interpret into our language. So karma is following the brahmanas and doing the yajna karma, and many of those karmas, if you see, for example, like Sri Suktam, if you chant Sri Suktam,
Mhm.
uh, it is full of, like, it's a shopping list. Ashwadayi, Chigodayi, Dhanadayi, Mahadane. So, like Putram, Pautram, Bahuputra Labam, Shatasamvatsram, Dhirgamayu, all of this comes in the Sri Suktam. Whereas Narayana Suktam is very different. And but what I think was, like, they had fancy for, and there are some Upanishads also where they say, may my Brahma Varchas glow, and may I get more students from around the villages. So there's a whole list of, like, things that they were looking for. So it's more of, I want this, what we call as like the artharthi bhaktas, right?
Mhm.
So for the same yajna, even now when we chant, if our goal, our sankalpam or ichcha shakti, jnana shakti, and kriya shakti, they are focused on moksha, there is one different result that we get, versus what it is saying. It doesn't matter what we are saying. That's what I've been taught, is your mind is focused on moksha. You might still need, like, all the securities and some happiness, like pleasures from the day to day. We are not sannyasis, we have not moved out of the house, so we still have to pay our bills. So all of this keeps happening, but the focus is on the karma yoga in order to get to moksha. But many of these karmas were done with swarga prapti as one of the, I think, in those days there was a lot of fancy for swargam, and also for various grihastha needs. And that is very different than the karma yoga, which is more of a lifestyle.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we move? Who would like to chant 41?
I can do it, Sriji.
Please go ahead, Anita.
व्यपसायात्मिका बुद्धि रेकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्. Kuru Nandana, O descendant of Kuru. Iha, with reference to this, moksha, Vyavasayatmika, well ascertained, Buddhi, understanding, Eka is one, Avyayasayinam, of the indiscriminate, Buddhaya, notions, he, indeed, Bahushaka, many branched, Cha, and Ananta, innumerable. With reference to this moksha, O descendant of Kuru, there is single, well ascertained understanding. The notions of those who lack discriminations are many branched and innumerable indeed. The vision of the Gita is that you're already free. You cannot be improved upon. Since you're already Param Brahma, it is knowledge alone that liberates you. To gain it, you should find a teacher and ask for the knowledge. In spite of the availability of such teaching, however, there is no guarantee that one will gain the knowledge because the place where it must occur may not be ready. Knowledge has to take place in the mind. Physically, one may be a mature person
dealt, but this does not mean that the mind, the antakarana, is ready for the teaching. A certain maturity, a certain viveka is necessary. The teaching may be given for the asking, but the mind must be ready for it. You must be desirous of the knowledge, not out of curiosity, but out of certain discrimination, viveka on your part. Then only can you ask for this knowledge and hope to receive it. The mind that is necessary in order to receive the knowledge is accomplished by karma yoga. You can choose the lifestyle of karma yoga, performing karma with a prayerful attitude, or you can choose a life of renunciation involving only Sankhya knowledge. Sankhya and sannyasa go together. Since sannyasa is taken for the sake of pursuing
From the first line.
uh, can I can't see the top line properly.
So you finished till pursue.
Sannyasa is taken for the sake of pursuing knowledge to the exclusion of any other activity. By simply becoming a sannyasi, one does not become enlightened. A sannyasi also have to gain knowledge. Similarly, by karma yoga alone, you do not gain liberation. You have to gain knowledge. Knowledge, therefore, is common to both. Knowledge liberates, for which you require a mind which has been made ready by yoga. A sannyasi may follow the uh, Astani, Astanga Yoga upon its final limb of Samadhi. But it too comes under Karma Yoga because it is an action to be done to purify the Antakarana for the sake of gaining the knowledge. Any technique that helps to acquire steadiness of mind is useful and may be employed even by sannyasi. The means and the end are one. In this verse, the word Vyavasaya means nishchaya, clarity with reference to what I seek and how I'm going to go about gaining it. The mind, buddhi, therefore is said to be pinpointed, eka. There is only one goal, moksha, in the form of gnana, knowledge. That the goal, the end, is clear, is itself a very big accomplishment. To see that moksha is the destiny of a human being, that this is exactly what I'm seeking, that it is freedom, freedom from a sense of limitation, and that freedom must be centered on myself alone. That it cannot be outside of me means that the goal is clear. I should see that I'm already free, and that if I were bound, I could never be free. If I'm already free, I should know it to own it. This is the kind of knowledge I need to have first, that there is such a thing as the freedom I am seeking, and that it is in the form of gnana. If there are 100 seekers and all of them are very clear about what they want, all of them committed to the pursuit of knowledge, then all these minds have only one goal. Shraddha is common to all of them. Only in preparing the mind can there be
The last line.
yeah, only in preparing the mind can there be differences. Once the mind is prepared, it does not meander. It is like a river with two banks. It has a direction. If the banks themselves are not defined, if there are all over, there will be islands everywhere, just like the river Godavari before it reaches the sea. Similarly, like a meandering river, the buddhi will also meander all over if I do not know where I want to go. Everything will seem to be all right, or everything will seem to be important, which means there will be a confusion about priorities. If everything seems to be as attractive as everything else, then everything will have the uppermost place on the list of items to be fulfilled, because there they have no vyavasayatmika buddhi. People are confused about what is to be done first and what later. But here, Whether it is with reference to karma yoga or gnana, the focus is the same because it is knowledge and knowledge cannot differ. Knowledge is centered upon the object and is true as the object. Knowledge cannot differ regardless of whether it is my knowledge or your knowledge. 1 plus 1 is 2 for both of us. Because it depends on a valid means of knowledge, knowledge of a given thing does not differ. So, too, knowledge for one who takes to Karma Yoga is the same knowledge as that pursued by the sannyasi. A karma yogi does not do karma for the sake of karma or karma phala. No one is interested in performing an action for the sake of action.
Sorry, I lost 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh God, where were we? Oops. Yeah, here.
Yeah.
We need to start from there.
Okay. Karma yoga is the same knowledge as person. The karma yogi does not karma for the sake of karma. No one is interested in performing an action for the sake of action. Inaction would be preferable. Action is performed because the person is interested in something. We need to be clear about what that is. A karma yogi does not perform karma for the karma's sake, nor because it is going to produce a particular result in terms of security and pleasure and thereby make him or her a better person. Such a person no longer thinks that way, although he or she may have thought so originally. A karma yogi, like a sannyasi, is a mumukshu, a seeker, one who has a desire for moksha only. Who does not become a karma yogi. One does not become a karma yogi otherwise. Do you want me to continue, Sriji, or?
Thank you, Anitaji. I think, does anybody else want to do the next one?
I can read.
Please go ahead.
Without knowledge, seeking is endless. Everyone does some kind of karma or the other. Who does not? Some are doing more while others are doing less. But everyone performs karma with certain ends in view. These ends are numerous, Bahusaka. There are many branches in the sense that each one goes his or her own way. The ways are not just one or two, they are ananta, endless, countless. If you go after money, there is no end to the search. If you want power, it too is endless. Pleasures are the same. Whatever you seek, you find the pursuit is endless. Those who do not have nischaya, who are not clear with reference to what they want, have meandering minds, bahusaka buddhyaha. There are too many branches, pursuits, too many channels, and too many expressions. They are indeed countless. Both the means and the ends are countless in number because the same ends can be achieved by different means. For instance, if you take money or power, there are many gates, including Watergate, through which you can gain power and lose it also. A gate can take you in and it can push you out too. Inlets can become outlets. Thus, there are many ways to accomplish the same end because whenever an end is away from you, you can accomplish that end in different ways. When the mind is not clear, priorities are always a problem. Everything seems to be equally important, whereas for the person who has clarity about what is to be known, there is Eka Buddhi. With reference to yoga, too, it is Eka Buddhi because Karma Yoga is born of Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, discriminating knowledge between what is eternal and non eternal. All you have to do is to take care of your raga, dveshas, likes and dislikes. These have to be neutralized, and to do this, you require Karma Yoga. If you do not have Karma Yoga and become a sannyasi or simply pursue knowledge on your own, then too your raga dveshas still have to be taken care of. It does not mean that you should not pursue knowledge. The pursuit of knowledge itself may help you take care of raga dveshas. In fact, no one takes care of every raga dvesha and then pursues knowledge. You pursue knowledge and take care of raga dveshas. This was what Arjuna did.
Awesome. Thank you, Gayatri ji. We'll just, I think, pause here and just focus on a couple things. One, we are trying to, there is a differentiation between karma yoga and jnana yoga that is continuing. And one leads to the other. And antakarana shuddhi is the main focus of karma yoga. Karma yoga by itself will not give us moksha, because moksha is equal to knowledge. And knowledge about self, like a knowledge, atma jnanam, is what is moksha. The other part, we were talking about a vyavasayatmika buddhi, that clear understanding of these two is extremely important. So that's been so I think last week we were talking about some sadhanas, right? Like, bhakti yoga, like, the raja yoga, kundalini yoga, like, there could be so many different names given for various sadhanas. And when we don't have that eka buddhi, or that clear understanding or focus on one thing, it is possible to get distracted thinking that each of these is a sadhanas. It becomes like, a kid in a candy store. So, oh, if I do this, then I will get moksha. If I do this, then I will get moksha. And then in between something else comes up. Oh, if I do this, then I will probably get like these other benefits. It gives me both bhukti and mukti. Therefore, I'm going to pursue this. So this, knowing that this is my destination and pursuing. And what actually they say, that there is a term that pursuing has been used a few times in this, the past, like summary that we were reading. But what we will start understanding as we go into some of the future chapters is that it is not a journey. It is not from a point A to point B. At this moment, if we can realize the real self, the real Atman, then we are free. It is not something to be achieved. It is something to be realized. And that realization could happen at this moment. It is not something that will come, oh, if I did 10 years of sadhana, then I will get it in 10 years from now. So it's not, Swami Paramathananda jokes about it. It's not a graduation ceremony that you will get convocated one day that, you actually achieved moksha. So it's important to maintain that constant knowledge and live in that knowledge. Once we understand the Atma Jnanam, it is not something to be left off and just we move on to something more, because no matter how further we go in this knowledge, everything keeps coming back to Aham Brahmasmi. And knowing the difference, Aham Brahmasmi doesn't mean that I am equal to God. It is that God is the one that has taken all of these forms, including myself, and therefore I am the Atman that is being given this body, mind, sense complex to enjoy this world. Enjoy doesn't have to mean like, doing crazy things, but interacting with the matter and energy. So this understanding, this eka buddhi, or the clear understanding of what we are pursuing and what we are after, is very, very important. So that's the gist of what we've been reading. Any thoughts before we move to the next topic? Sounds good. So
I just have to say that Raga Dvesha, even if we are not doing the Karma Yoga part, that has to be taken care of. So we want to attain that knowledge, that Raga Dvesha has to be looked into. We have to conquer that.
correct. And without that, knowledge is not possible. That's the part of the antakarana shuddhi part that we were talking about. That without getting rid of these vices or keeping them under control, it is not possible to even understand what the knowledge that is being taught to us. Very good point. Okay, who would like to read the next topic?
I can read. Is that okay?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Karma Yoga is something more than an ethical life. Arjuna had been living a life of dharma, but it was not a total Karma Yoga. He had great ambitions. Only in the battlefield did he become a mumuksu. He had fought with Lord Shiva only for the sake of a weapon, because he wanted a blessing from the Lord Shiva in the form of a missile. He worshipped him, all for the sake of personal glories. Living a life of dharma, an ethical life, Arjuna legitimately sought these personal glories. Karma Yoga is not merely living an ethical life, because one can legitimately aspire for money, power, heaven, and so on. Legitimately, the person performs various karmas and earns his or her living ethically. Following sound work ethics and personal ethics means that one's life is proper. But such a person is not necessarily a mumukshu, the one who has already discriminated between the real and the unreal, the one who has nitya, anitya, vastu, viveka. Nitya means that which is eternal, that which is always there, and anitya is ephemeral, the non-eternal, that I'm seeking eternally is knowledge, that you gain in time after you have gone through enough rounds of experience to enlighten yourself. You see that experiences come and go, and all that happens is that you become a permanent seeker, an experience hunter. Either you grow out of one experience and want a new experience, or you want a repeat experience. Either way, the experience is anitya. The result of any karma is always anitya. A person who has thus discovered a dispassion towards the experiences of life is called a mumukshu, one who can take to a life of sannyasa or to a life of karma yoga. Those who take to either lifestyle are mumukshus, who have minds that are eka, because the nischaya swabhava. There is a determination, there is clarity. Nischaya does not mean determination in the sense of resolve. It means that there is no doubt. There is clarity with reference to what I want to know. If you want to know whether a pumpkin is made out of plastic or is real, you ascertain the difference and have nishchayamika buddhi with reference to that object. This is clarity. A doubt, however, is what is created when someone says that what you thought was real is made out of plastic. You can believe that it is real, but the mind is not nishchayamika. You have to ascertain whether or not it is real with your own pramanya, with your own hands and nose. You touch it and smell it. Nowadays, a pumpkin can be made to smell and feel like a real pumpkin. So you may also have to scratch it. Once you know it is real pumpkin, then you have nishchayatmika buddhi. From this example, we can understand that nishchaya is clarity, not determination. What determination or resolve is there is knowing a pumpkin. Determination is something entirely different. You determine or resolve to achieve something. Here, very well ascertained knowledge is what is meant by nishchayatmika buddhi, clarity with reference to the lakshya, what is to be accomplished in life. Any target is called a lakshya. Any implied meaning is also called lakshya, as you have seen before. What is aimed at here is lakshya, and the lakshya is very clear. The means also are very clear. I do not choose Karma Yoga thinking that it will deliver the goods. I choose it knowing full well it is jnana that delivers the goods. The Karma Yogi pursues knowledge while at the same time living a life of Karma Yoga. In this, the Karma Yogi has nishchaya, a clarity about the goal. The person has no delusions whatsoever. He or she may practice asanas, pranayama, and various other disciplines. A number of rituals may also be performed. However, whatever is done is meant for only one purpose. This integration is clear to the Karma Yogi because he or she knows that these karmas themselves will not produce knowledge. The purpose of the various disciplines is clear. This then is what is meant by clarity. No karma is discounted or dismissed, nor is it mistaken for a means to an end that it cannot produce. Therefore, Karma Yogi will not complain later that he or she tried everything, none of which helped at all. Whatever helps is useful. People actually say these things. I tried all this and it did not work. It's all a trip. They do not know what they tried it all for. Whatever you try can help in some way or other if it is done properly. It is also true that something that helps one person may not help another. For instance, two people may have the same disease with the same symptoms, but only one will be helped by a particular treatment and another may actually be harmed by it. There are hundreds of disciplines and cures for varieties of diseases, but they do not help everyone because each of them has its own limitation. No one really knows what a particular medicine will do. Researchers may have watched it. Researchers may have watched this effect on rats, but how it will act on a human being, in a male body as opposed to a female body, an Indian stomach as opposed to Western stomach, they do not know. What happens when you eat meat instead of brown rice is not really known either. It is all guesswork and prayer, because everything has its own limitations. There is no last word. As long as you understand that you do a certain thing for a certain purpose and do not have any delusions about it, everything is fine. You do not become a faddist, nor do you think that this or that will deliver what it cannot. Only jnana will deliver, and for the sake of jnana, you have to do what is to be done, which requires vichara, inquiry. It is the thing that produces the knowledge that will deliver. If for the sake of that knowledge you think you need to do this or that to be able to know, then do it. Shankara says here that Viveka being there, the mind is single pointed. Eka buddhi bhavati. Suppose, however, that the lakshya, the human end, is not very clear, what kind of buddhi will there be? It will be a buddhi that is dissipated in many pursuits without any definite direction. Those who have no vyavasaya, or those with no viveka buddhi, no discrimination, they definitely do not have the knowledge born out of pramana through the study of Shastra. They have no such clarity, and for them there are many branches. Bahu Sakas. Am I reading right? Bahu Sakas?
Bahushaka. Yeah. Shaka like the
Bahushaka.
branch. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Bahushaka. Countless means and countless ends, all of which are in the buddhi, so that the person wants to do many things at the same time, finally not doing even one of them properly. Time management, therefore, becomes an enormous problem.
Talk about that.
Yes, I was just thinking, I'm a teacher and I keep telling the students, time management. Just the right one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So would you like to just finish this part, Ratnaji?
Okay. Okay. Without clarity, priorities are a problem. To say, this job I will do now and this one I'll do later means that you have only one buddhi, to say nothing of having only one body. However, suppose you want to do all of them and are not very clear about which one you want to do first, what happens is that you cannot even start. Similarly, when it is very clear to you that this knowledge, this freedom is what you want in life, then everything becomes karma yoga for you, even marriage. In fact, marriage is yoga. Here, both the partners together live a life of karma yoga, preparing themselves for this knowledge. Having pointed out the difference in understanding, Krishna talks about those who are not clear about the end to be accomplished in life. Oh, what a nice paragraph. Just one.
Awesome. So I think we'll pause here and we will talk a little bit about karma yoga, moksha, and what we have understood so far. Because, like, what Bhagavan is trying to say, we need to just keep reminding ourselves this is not regular, any type of knowledge. So I'll be pausing here to see if there are some definitions that the group wants to discuss among ourselves. What is karma yoga according to your understanding, and what is moksha?
I think karma yoga is, doing your duty without thinking what is the final result is going to be. I mean, doing the duty for your own sake, and looking out for goodness, moksha, more than anything.
Okay, awesome.
So karma yoga is doing your everyday, could be everyday duties or anything, puja or anything, without any attachments or any expectations to receive something back.
Hmm. And why would we do it? Like, why would anybody do anything without expectation? So if we think of, I want a job, there is an expectation of a monetary return from it. Or if we say, okay, I'm going to go to the store, then there is an expectation that I'm going to find something that I really need. So we have been used to thinking in a way that everything has to come with a return. So why then do we need to do karma yoga?
I think actions in a life is very important, right? I mean, nobody can live without having an action.
Mm-hmm.
Actions are I mean, our life depends on all the actions that we are doing. So karma yoga, if we can do it as a karma yogi, all our actions that we have to do in our life, that would be the best result, I guess.
And some of this could be your dharma too, right? If you have, husband, kids, you're expected to take care of them, cook or whatever. So you're doing all that as part of your dharma.
Correct. And in one of the previous paragraphs, Swamiji explained that dharma doesn't have to be karma yoga. So anybody who is following dharma is not necessarily a karma yogi. They're a very righteous person, and if they are dharmi.
Right. But the karma yogi is the one who does that without, I guess, anything expecting in return or attachment. More like attachment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There is a surrendership here. So again, it's a no attachment thing, but it is coming from the surrendership. I don't know. I'm not knowing how to put it.
Sharanagati.
Yeah. So I feel that is what, because when we get to that stage is when we are going to really understand that knowledge that requires that foundation. That's why we have to practice our actions in that way so that we are getting prepared to receive that knowledge.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Padmaji. Any other thoughts?
Doing karma yoga, like you had taught last class, as an arti, artharti, or a jignasu will not necessarily be at the level of karma yoga, but it has to be like a gnani. Yes, without result, but in the name of God, and understanding that you are put here by God to do certain things, but doing in his name and not expecting a result. And again, this is not directly to a moksha, but this is in the path.
Hmm. So I think they kind of go hand in hand. So when we talk about like, moksha and karma yoga, and so all of us, or any, even like, any human being, um, don't want to include all living beings, any human being, by doing an action, they're expecting happiness, right? That's the ultimate goal. No matter what we say, even if I'm doing philanthropic work, or like, sponsoring a child, I'm not doing it for the child. I'm doing it for my own happiness. That I am sharing the happiness that Bhagavan has given me with somebody else who may not be as fortunate. So there are some inner reasons for all of us to be doing what we are choosing to do, and all of this is for that happiness that we search for. And that happiness could, like, from on one day could come from an ice cream, or the other day from a movie, or the other day from doing, like, some major puja, or it could be so many different things, right? But what we are looking for actually when we talk about happiness is that inner freedom. And by inner freedom, it is the psychological, the emotional freedom. And and that's why, like, it is the final ultimate purushartha, and we don't get that inner freedom unless we have tried the others, unless, somebody like a Shankaracharya or like a Ramanujacharya, who were able to realize it much earlier in their lives. But generally, most of us have to go through the phases. We have done so many different things and have achieved different kinds of happiness and levels of happiness, and then still feel like, yeah, you know what, I don't think this is giving me what I'm looking for. And that's when we start thinking about what is that is real happiness for me. And that's why, like, we have always talked about dharma, artha, kama, and then comes moksha, because all of these previous ones need to be tried, and then somebody is behind moksha. So Swamiji explains it as, like, how a child discovers strength in their legs, and then starts experimenting with just taking a step here and a step there, very concerned and very, not very brave to do the real walking. And at some point, once they have sufficient strength in their legs, they don't want to be picked by the mother. They just want to be free, and they want to run by themselves. Similarly, we are actually looking for that kind of that sufficient strength in our emotional personality, and then being comfortable and being happy on our own without the external supports and securities we've been trying to build around us. And that security could be a job, but that security could be my social life. And I have like 100 friends. And if I throw a party, it's going to be a lot of friends that I know. It could be any other sort of, like, or for some people, it could be beauty. For some people, it could be money. It could be so many different things. But without having the support of all of these external factors, how stable and how strong emotionally is this person is what is going to help them with their mental freedom. And Swami Paramathananda ji actually gives an example. He says there is a beautiful cardboard chair, just so beautiful. It just looks fantastic. Just looks like, it's wrapped in gold and everything. But he says it is beautiful for to like a decor. You just keep it in the room and you enjoy by looking at it, but don't try to sit on it because it is not strong enough to carry your weight. So you need to figure out which is the nitya and the anitya vivek, vastu viveka, that we just saw in one of the previous topics, right? So which one is going to give you that permanency in your security, permanency in your happiness versus today I am happy with my health and therefore I'm going to do whatever I want, and tomorrow I may not be as healthy, but if my happiness depends on my health, then I know I will have a day that I might not be as happy as I am today with it. Remember one of those previous statements that we once read? It is not the disobedient son that is causing the sorrow. It is your dependence on his obedience that is causing the sorrow. So it's that building that strength inwards and being less dependent on factors that are going to change in the ever-changing world, and knowing what is the nitya, what is the permanent security, and focusing on that and realizing that inner strength, that is what's going to give us the moksha. Make sense?
Sriji, no, I'm just thinking about all of these things. And if I look at the real life and we talk about businesses and we talk about how performance has to be this, how the business has to function, it's kind of, it's a 180 degrees opposite from all the thoughts that we're just going.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
conflicting. It's like a mess in my head now. So, tough. It's tough because that is entirely materialistic, entirely based on the previous one, entirely on attachment, whereas now we are learning entirely the different things.
Absolutely. And that's what I call this, like there is a moment in every one of our lives that we'll just have to take a 180 degrees and look back and see where are we headed.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I don't know. I don't want to become like it's getting messy in my head now.
Which is I think a very good thing. It starts with being like, starts with that confusion, right? What am I really doing? And this is, as you mentioned, the materialistic world depends on attachment. And it depends on that competitiveness. It depends on all, no, oh, I want more security. And because I'm making more money, I want a larger house. And because I have a larger house, I have a larger mortgage. And therefore, I'm going to try to find better jobs, and I need to move to a different place. And all of this comes from that raga, dvesha, like all of this is encouraged in a materialistic life. And there is no harm in it. It is just that we will not find that happiness in that path, because today I'm happy, tomorrow I may not be. It's a continuous journey, and it's the
Yeah.
hamster wheel that we talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, I was also looking from the business point of view. Say you're, guiding a business. You have to be talking entirely on different things, and nothing. You can't just leave it like that. Attachment is sales is profitability, blah blah blah. Just keep on going more and more deeper into the non-existential world itself, from where I'm seeing now. But that's what is those studies. So in my opinion, I'm saying if we keep saying about non-attachment, detachment, and all these things, less desires and everything, it's completely parallel to how the business mind works.
So I will tell you, that is my world. That's my day job. I'm a senior executive in marketing, and
Mm-hmm.
what I talk about
Yeah.
is the exact opposite of what I do in my Gita classes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to have clear purpose when you're defining. No, I'm just thinking of my role, and I'm getting scared whether I would bring Gita in that place and totally defeat the purpose of what I want to be telling about, break-even analysis and things like that, which is entirely in the materialistic aspect. So yeah.
I can understand your point. Been there, done that.
So
Okay.
it's not
Sriji?
easy. Yeah.
Let me give you one example. What happened about a couple of weeks back? In my own life. I mean, the political situation. In United States. I'm from United States. United States is so depressing that I decided. Okay, today we are going to see the movie. Fiddler on the Roof. Are you familiar with that movie? It's a very old movie, but
Yeah.
it tells you. It brings you back your emotions back to you, more than anything else. It teaches you a lot of things. I mean, I've seen this about 6 times, but every time I see that movie, it gives me a different perspective. And now that we are reading this Gita, and I could make that movie with the Gita, what Gita is teaching.
Yeah.
And how those people in their such a poverty, they are going to be happy in what way. And I think watching these good movies that teaches you a lot of stuff, and every time you see it, it's a different thing that you get to know.
Yeah, very much.
Sriji,
Which movie is that
I'm-
again?
Fiddler on the Roof.
Fiddler on the
Fiddler on the Roof,
And actually, if you watch Matrix after studying Gita, do that. Like in the Keanu Reeves movie, I think like late 90s movie, there is so much correlation between the two, and there are so many documentaries that actually talk about that on the similarities of what they're trying to portray was a lot from Gita.
Yeah, very true.
Sriji, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm maybe a little confused. So when when I said you have to do things without attachment and without any expectation, uh, you said why can't we have expectations? I'm not sure I got the answer. I don't know if I missed it when you gave the explanation. That point, can you kind of
So
clarify
the
that?
attachment actually shifts, is what I think we should put it as. Because if I did not have attachment on moksha, which is also an attachment, but here I am actually differentiating between what is nitya and what is anitya. Anitya is like, anything that is going to change, like, it's there today and tomorrow it's not there. What I'm trying to go beyond that to look for something that is more permanent, and my attachment is towards that permanency, and that permanency is Bhagavan. You could call it Bhagavan and you could do pujas, or you could say, like, ultimately it's all Bhagavan, right? Like, but you could also say that same Bhagavan that is living in me, and I want to live in that sthiti of being an Atman.
Right.
Did that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying it's okay to have the attachment towards moksha or what your goal is, but not towards day-to-day activities, right?
Correct. It
And
is the
that's what
nitya vastu vivekam is what it is called.
right. And that's what karma yoga is, right? You're doing your
Correct.
duties or whatever your day-to-day activities without attachment to them.
Correct.
Okay.
And your mental strength is you're strong enough to not be worried about any changing scenarios, because your focus is on the permanent, and the permanent never changes.
Okay. And then what was the answer to you also kind of questioned when I said why should we do things without expectation?
Because of that the
So
happiness in the
have
permanency.
have the expectation towards the permanent thing, but not the thing that constantly changing.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Any final thoughts before we conclude?
Regarding the relevance of Bhagavad Gita on business,
Bhagavad Gita has a very much relevant to today's world of business making. Someone suggested about the analysis that is away from, she took this away from Bhagavad Gita. That's not the correct one. When we do analysis, we should not have any fixed notion that we should not impose our own view of the result of the analysis. Then we go sort of we go wherever. So if we want we desire something to be done from the analysis outcome I want to bring out, then that may not be there. You may not get the result of the analysis. Impassioned analysis is a detached analysis. You should stand away from from your own conclusions to make the analysis properly workable. And then also that is detachment is very much needed in all aspects of business.
Correct. I think what the topic that Padmaji raised, I'll give you an example where things actually get, a little muddled. For example, in a situation that I was discussing in a different class, and the situation was that the organization decides to move the bottom 10% of their employees every year. Apparently, it's a rotation. So this person who actually has been performing well has his wife is pregnant and he's just starting a family, and this person, like the boss, knows all of this situation, and the person is trying really hard to perform, but just because there is a rule called we have to move the bottom 10%, however they define the bottom 10, and all these situation, the boss has been explained by his boss that this is going to happen very soon, and be prepared. And but the person who doesn't know that he's going to be fired is actually doing all the things that he's supposed to be doing, and has been been very happy, and also then taking on additional responsibilities, like, oh, because before the child comes to the world, I want to buy a house, and he's actually building stuff. But this person who knows the situation and what's coming into this employee's life cannot speak to him, and also knows that it is the wrong thing to do. But as an employee of this organization, he is supposed to execute on that situation. And they also don't inform this person because there is a project that is currently underway, and therefore let's finish that project and then send him away. So there is a dharma of your being an employee. There is a dharma of being somebody's boss and playing with somebody's life. And there is a dharma that is in your inner conscience on what is the right thing to do in those situations. So the question to me at that time was given this scenario, what should I be doing? Knowing that I'm a karma yogi and I want to do the right thing. And we had to literally just do a bit of an analysis. But what I'm saying is, when we start thinking about these things, which one is a priority for me and what is my duty, there are quite a few conflicts that'll come to our minds. And then definitely just do an analysis. And as Mahatma Gandhi ji has always said, open Gita and you'll find your answers. It does give us the answers. And we have to think differently than, if I did not have this backdrop of Bhagavad Gita, that would have been a very simple scenario. Okay, as an employee, I have to do what needs to be done, and too bad, that person didn't make the bottom 10% cut. I think those are the kind of scenarios that Padmaja is talking about. I think the return on investment and my life, my day job is being in marketing, and all the any strategy we talk about, enticing, how advertising works and all the marketing stuff. Right? That's my day job. Thankfully, I work for a very honest company with integrity, so I don't really suffer a lot under the pressure. But if they did not have integrity, then my integrity coming from a karma yogi's perspective would be hampered by what I really need in my life to get my securities. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, it did. It did. Very much. Yeah. I was also thinking, and I was also sharing about that, about, how business has to be always competitive. You're always innovating. You're always looking at areas where you can capture sales, where you can, enhance customer relationship, blah, blah, blah. It's more and more deep into the real situation that is very far from the what Gita is telling us to do. So that's the reason why I just brought up that point. Yes.
Correct. And it is as simple as like the Maya, the
Yeah.
Maya, and how you move out of that Maya and how do you lift yourself. Like it's anti-gravity. It's
Yeah.
very easy to flow down the river, but
Yeah.
versus like, trying to swim against it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so great discussion. And I've taken up 8 more minutes of everybody's time. Apologies for that. So we will conclude here and we'll come back to Shloka 42 next week. So we'll conclude with a short prayer. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु सर्वं श्रीमन्नारायण चरणारविन्दार्पणमस्तु. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up next week and we'll continue conversations. Bhaskar ji, Anu ji, lots of great discussions happening in the forum. I do enjoy quite a bit of that. Though I don't get to respond on a daily basis. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you, Adi.
Thanks everyone.
Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadaha. Good night.
Thanks a lot.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night. Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadaha.